In a vast field surrounded by rolling hills, there stood a tall, majestic oak tree. Its branches spread wide, providing shelter and comfort to the many creatures that called it home. Among the inhabitants of this grand tree was a young sparrow named Little Sparky. Little Sparky lived in a cozy nest on one of the higher branches with his family, and life was peaceful and joyful for him. Every morning, as the sun rose above the horizon and bathed the earth in its warm glow, Little Sparky and his siblings would leave the nest to begin their day. They would hop from branch to branch, searching for insects and seeds, and playing with the other birds. Little Sparky was a curious sparrow, always eager to explore his surroundings. He often flew to the edge of the field, watching the world beyond. Unlike other sparrows, Little Sparky wasn't content with the familiar sights of the oak tree and the nearby field. He was constantly wondering, was the world limited to just this oak tree and the surrounding fields? What lay beyond the distant horizon? These thoughts often stirred restlessness within him, urging him to fly further and see more of the world. Little Sparky's parents were wise and experienced sparrows who understood the dangers lurking beyond their safe haven. They frequently warned him not to fly too far, especially not beyond the field. His father would often say, "Little Sparky, this field and our oak tree provide everything we need. There's no reason to risk exploring places we don't know. Out there, you might encounter predators, storms, and other dangers that we can't foresee." His mother would gently advise, "Dear Sparky, our life here is already wonderful. You should learn to appreciate the beauty around you, rather than seeking out things you don't understand." However, Little Sparky was not satisfied. While he respected his parents' advice, his inner longing to explore only grew stronger. Every day, he would perch on the highest branch of the oak tree, gazing into the distance. When he looked at the endless blue sky, a powerful urge would rise within him. "I must fly out and see what lies at the end of the world." Finally, one day, Little Sparky made up his mind. He knew his parents would never agree to his plan, so he decided to leave quietly at dawn, while everyone was still asleep. That morning, as the first light of day began to illuminate the sky, Little Sparky slipped out of the nest. He flew to the top of the oak tree, took a deep breath, and with courage swelling in his chest, he soared toward the edge of the field. Little Sparky flew over the familiar field, crossing the boundaries that had once held him back. He flew high, feeling like a true adventurer, exploring a brand new world. As he ventured further from the oak tree, the landscape began to change. The fields gave way to rolling hills, and beyond the hills lay towering mountains. After some time, Little Sparky reached a dense forest. This forest was unlike the oak tree he had known. The trees here were tall, their canopies stretching up to the sky, blocking out much of the sunlight. Little Sparky decided to rest for a while in this mysterious forest, choosing a large pine tree to perch on. In the forest, Little Sparky encountered creatures he had never seen before. He watched a brightly colored woodpecker tap rhythmically on a tree trunk and saw a gray squirrel nimbly leaping between branches, gathering nuts. Everything here was new and fascinating, fueling Little Sparky's curiosity even more. However, this forest was not as peaceful as it seemed. Just as Little Sparky was about to continue his journey, a large hawk suddenly swooped down from the sky, its sharp eyes fixed on him. Hawks were among the fiercest predators in the forest, with incredible speed and razor-sharp talons. Little Sparky was terrified and flapped his wings frantically, trying to escape. Fortunately, Little Sparky was small and agile. He quickly dove down, weaving through the dense branches, and eventually managed to hide inside a hollow in a large tree. The hawk circled above for a while, but unable to reach Little Sparky, it let out a screech and flew away, breathing heavily inside the tree hollow. Little Sparky's heart pounded in his chest. He had never experienced such fear before and realized that his parents' warnings were not without reason. The world was indeed vast, but it was also full of dangers he could never have anticipated. Despite this close call, Little Sparky was not ready to give up on his journey. He had become more cautious, but his curiosity continued to drive him forward. He spent a few days in the forest, learning how to avoid predators, find safe resting places, and survive in unfamiliar surroundings. Leaving the forest behind, Little Sparky continued to fly further into the unknown. He crossed mountains, soared over rivers, and eventually arrived at a vast grassland. The scenery here was completely different from anything he had ever seen. The grassland stretched as far as the eye could see, with the horizon appearing to have no end. The grassland was home to a variety of plants, and herds of animals roamed freely across the open plains. On this grassland, Little Sparky met a flock of migrating birds. These birds came from all corners of the world, traveling to different places according to the changing seasons. Little Sparky was intrigued by the stories of their journeys and asked them to share their knowledge about the world. The migratory birds told Little Sparky that the world was much larger than he had ever imagined. They spoke of vast deserts, frozen tundras, endless oceans, and towering mountain ranges. Every place had its unique beauty and creatures. The migratory birds, with their experiences, taught Little Sparky that the world was infinite, and what he had seen so far was just a tiny fraction of it. Little Sparky was amazed by what he heard. He had never imagined that the world could be so vast. He began to understand that his adventure had only just begun, and there were countless wonders and challenges ahead of him. This realization filled him with both excitement and a bit of anxiety, for he wasn't sure if he had the courage to face the unknown territories. As time passed, Little Sparky spent many unforgettable days on the grassland. He made many new friends and learned many new skills. He not only witnessed the diversity of nature but also understood the importance of survival and the role every creature plays in this world. However, no matter how far he traveled or how many new things he saw, Little Sparky could never forget his home. He began to miss the oak tree, the familiar field, and his family and friends. So, Little Sparky decided it was time to end his journey and return home to be reunited with his loved ones. On his way back, Little Sparky had plenty of time to reflect on everything he had experienced. He realized that while the outside world was vast and beautiful, home was always the most important place in his heart. No matter how far he flew, home would always be where his soul found peace. Finally, one day, Little Sparky spotted the familiar oak tree. It still stood tall in the middle of the field, like a silent guardian, welcoming Little Sparky back. When Little Sparky returned to the nest, his family was overjoyed. They had thought he was lost in some distant place and were relieved to see him return safely. Little Sparky shared all that he had seen and learned on his journey with his family and friends. They listened intently, admiring his bravery and wisdom. Little Sparky also realized that his journey was not just an adventure but a process of growth and learning. From that day on, Little Sparky became a respected member of the oak tree community. Although he still loved to explore, he also learned to appreciate the things around him. He was no longer in a hurry to chase distant dreams but had learned to balance adventure with belonging, understanding the importance of home. Little Sparky's story spread throughout the oak tree and the surrounding fields, becoming a legend among the other young sparrows. Whenever a young sparrow asked about the world beyond, Little Sparky would smile and tell them, "The world is big, but home is the most precious place." No matter how far you fly, always remember to cherish home, for it is our safe haven. And so, the young sparrows continued their lives under the protection of the oak tree. They knew that no matter how vast the world was or how unpredictable the future might be, home would always be their destination. Little Sparky, too, finally understood what was most important in life. This fable about Little Sparky the sparrow teaches us that exploring the unknown is part of growing up, but learning to appreciate and be grateful for what we have, especially the sense of family and belonging, is the most valuable treasure. While pursuing dreams, we should remember that home is always the harbor of our souls, a place worth returning to no matter how far we roam. Do you still like today's story? If you like, please remember to subscribe to this channel and click the like icon. You can receive notifications and hear the latest stories as soon as possible. Good night, my baby.